All right, staying on tech, Slack just pulled the trigger on its 6th ever acquisition this week, scooping up business directory outfit Rimeto. We have Slack co-founder and CEO Stewart Butterfield here with us now. Stewart, always good to see you here. So what were you seeing in the marketplace that made you buy this company?
Well, we actually started the process of looking at them maybe a couple of weeks before the pandemic started. In the end, we never actually even met the team face to face. But the thesis kind of changed because once people started working from home and that had dragged on for a month, a couple of months, we started feeling as a business, we have new employees starting. People don't get to come to headquarters for the week. They don't get to meet each other standing in line for the elevator. And as time went on, we heard from customers. I heard from my peers, other CEOs, executives. The people were really worried about the kind of social cohesion of the company, the weak social ties that make the whole thing stick together, the feeling of connection, and anything that we can do to better surface the individual's profile details, but also the nature of the teams and the organization to help new employees figure it all out. Because right now, we're already at 12% of our employees. We have about 2,300. 12% of them started post-pandemic.
You're sitting on a lot of cash. It's an enviable position right now, Stewart. You had that $1.4 billion raise. This is your 11th, or rather your 6th acquisition in 11 years. Are we going to see more acquisitions, and are you interested mostly in startups?
Yeah, I think that up to this point, we've been growing too quickly, both like on the business and on the company side, to really be able to integrate many acquisitions. Prices are pretty high, but at the same time, we're in a much better position to absorb them now, much more mature business. We have 122,000 customers around the world. So there's a bigger opportunity for whatever we do pick up. But generally, yes, looking for talent, for technology, for expertise in particular areas, as opposed to acquiring businesses for revenue.
Stuart, what's the next big need you're seeing in the work from home movement? It's been phenomenal to watch companies like yours, Zoom, really rise to the occasion. But the fact is, new needs are emerging as we continue to work from home.
Yeah, I wish I knew all of them, because I think some of them we're going to, people will either invent or discover or kind of in between the two of those. But I think we're going to see a lot more new and different uses of voice and video besides what we're doing right now. Like on a video conference, there's a camera on me, there's a camera on you, and it's more or less static. I think asynchronous voice and video is going to be interesting. The ability to kind of combine camera feeds with the presentations. Brian, you and I had talked about that earlier. But then I think stepping back from that, the number of business software product categories is going to continue to proliferate. And people are more and more reliant on software where they're working from home. So the degree of interoperability between all these tools and services is going to become increasingly important.
I know you're looking to replace good old-fashioned emails. You recently launched Slack Connect. But one of the challenges with Slack Connect, and really one of the challenges overall in your space, is safety and privacy, and taking care of privacy protocols with a whole bunch of different security protocols and measures used by different organizations. How are you, attacking that and making sure that people's data is safe?
It's a great question. I mean, I think Slack Connect, the offer is actually, it's a little bit interesting, and we realized this kind of pretty far into the process. But on the one hand, we're saying to customers, hey, we can improve collaboration, and our customers can be talking to their customers or vendors, partners. This can be professional services firms. They can be auditors or, more or less any other business that they talk to. We can improve the collaboration there by moving it to channels. At the same time, we can increase security, because a lot of times organizations, salespeople are talking to their customers over text messages or WhatsApp, things that are out of band. So there's security, and that's an area that we've invested in enormously, and we win on the basis of security. One of the biggest defense contractors in the US federal government, a lot of healthcare, financial services firms. But there's also, sometimes an even bigger requirement for compliance, and especially in highly regulated industries, they need not just security, but a whole elaborate tool set to manage information, to be able to audit, do legal holds, DLP, e-discovery. And Slack Connect was built from the ground up to support all of that, even to the extent that you can have what we call author-aware EKM, or encryption key management. So both sides have separate encryption keys. and yet can still talk to each other. But both sides can have different message retention policies, different rules around provisioning. That's why it's been such an enormous investment. It's taken us years to get to this point, and we're excited to kind of move down the roadmap.
Stewart, as it becomes clear that we'll be working from home for an extended period of time, a lot of companies, I'm sure, will just continue to work from home. Has it become easier to trade up those free trials that you've gained in the early going of COVID to actual paying customers? Has that conversation become easier?
I'm not sure if the conversation became easier or just the kind of the urgency became greater for people evaluating Slack in the first place, because we're still seeing elevated top of the funnel. So like the more people signing up in the first place, we're still seeing kind of elevated conversion, from someone creating a team to actually becoming successful using Slack, and slightly elevated from there conversion to paid. But of course, that's in the context of a broad macroeconomic shift, which negatively affects many of our customers as well. That could be layoffs or hiring freezes. But yeah, last quarter, we added 12,000 net new paid customers compared to the previous quarter, 5,000, and the quarter before that, 5,000. So almost 2.5 times the normal rate of new customer acquisition. And the way that our business works, it's freemium, net dollar retention has been around 130%. So it takes quite a while for those new customers to kind of mature. For a cohort to kind of realize its full potential can take 18 months, a couple of years. So there's a lot of growth for the business packed into the customers that we just acquired and that we're continuing to acquire today.
Stewart, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and Apple's latest iOS update is going to have threads and mentions. What do you make of that? And, for all the talk, people always like to compare you with Zoom and Microsoft Teams. Are you becoming a competitor to Apple?
That's an interesting question. No, as an end user, I'm excited about those features. I got to say, we added what we call emoji reactions in Slack 5 years ago or something like that. And every app that doesn't have them now drives me bananas. Even iMessage up to date has just been the kind of standard thumbs up, thumbs down, heart, and haha. But having the whole palette is it's really incredible. But no, I don't see that. That absolutely people in the context of business will use their iPhones and iMessage to communicate with one another. But that's not something that you could use inside of most large companies. There's no administrator access to that. It's not kind of controlled by the company. So for a lot of large enterprise, that would just be out of bounds, not because it's insecure. In fact, Apple's products are incredibly secure and they have a lot of concern around privacy, but that means they're also not administratable by the company itself. So yeah, I think stepping back, there's a lot of confusion. And some of that is, deliberately manufactured confusion, I think. But this is such a vast world, and there are hundreds of millions of people who are kind of migrating from, in January or February of this year, they were kind of like where most of us were in 2014 in terms of technological adoption. So they're leapfrogging a whole generation ahead, and hundreds of millions of people are moving off of email and kind of like what seem today like antiquated workflows. And there's just enormous opportunities all over the place where you look at tools for salespeople or for IT, for legal, finance, HR. There's just this blossoming everywhere. And to the extent that you can, Slack aims to be a lightweight fabric for systems integration. So you can pull all of these tools together with all the people. I think that's hugely advantageous to customers who are going to be increasingly reliant on software.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Stewart Butterfield, Slack CEO and co-founder. Always good to see you. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.